Coming up on today's edition of Locked On Eagles, we're getting you ready for the Eagles season opener this Sunday against the Detroit Lions, taking a deeper look at the matchups that are going to be key to this game on both sides of the ball. That's coming up next on your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast, Locked On Eagles.
You are Locked On Eagles, your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We thank you so much for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. Today's episode of LOE is presented by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. Pick 2 to 5 players, and if they score more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 10 times your money on your entry. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code LOCKEDON. I'm Louis DiBiase. He's Gino Camilleri. We're going to take a deeper dive into the Eagles' upcoming matchup week 1 against the Detroit Lions Sunday at 1 o'clock. And, Gino, this is a game that we took a first look at yesterday, and we feel like the Eagles should be heavy favorites. And I feel like against the Lions, that would have been the case for the majority of the 21st century. And not to drag another team down, but I will say this. Yesterday, I was kind of just, the perspective always changes when you look at the state of other teams. And when you look at just really how bad the Detroit Lions have been for not just like the 2000s, where they've been pretty awful. 17 of the 22 years, they've been under 500, with 8 of those seasons 4 wins or less. But the entirety of this franchise's existence, they have 2 playoff wins since 1957. It really does put sometimes things in perspective for the Eagles, and just, maybe how we should be a little more grateful for the consistency they've had. I mean, it's pretty crazy. The emotional stamina to be a Detroit fan is crazy.
Shout out, man. That's a diehard fan base.
Talk about
right
loyalty.
there.
I mean, the Eagles had more playoff wins in 2017 than they've had in 60-plus years.
That's why that stretch after the Eagles went to the NFC Championship there late in the 2000s was a head scratcher, because you're saying, look at all this recent success that we've had. And even for 4 or 5 years, we're saying we need to get back to the playoffs. And then it took nearly 8-9 years to get another playoff victory. It definitely is. And Detroit will get there. They'll definitely get there one day. Dan Campbell seems to have instilled a culture that they are changing the narrative around the Detroit Lions. And the Philadelphia Eagles had Deuce Staley there as the right-hand man, and now he's in Detroit. He's not going to take any BS. And they have a good coaching staff. And for the whole outlook of the NFC North, you need somebody to challenge the Green Bay Packers this decade. And with the state of the teams around them, Lou, I'm going to go ahead and say Detroit, trajectory-wise, should be that next team up. Minnesota, what's their quarterback situation?
They are who they are, right?
Yeah, they're not going to change my perspective.
And Chicago's got the quarterback, Detroit doesn't, but they don't have anything else.
No, and Detroit, you've seen it if you've been watching Hard Knocks, things do seem a little bit different there. It doesn't seem like they are just this team that you're just going to go in there and tomato can around, and especially week 1. I don't like playing teams that are quote unquote towards the bottom week 1. We look at that Jaguars matchup a couple of years ago where the Eagles go down 17-0 going into halftime, because there are no expectations going into week 1. The expectation is everybody wants to start 1-0.
It's weird. Yeah.
And it definitely does get weird. And the line right now is the Eagles are only 4-point favorites. Let's not take this matchup lightly, folks. We have to go in and handle our business right away.
And that's the thing. That's kind of why I do prefer teams like the Lions week 1, because, you're 100% right. It's so weird, the opening season. The games week 1 are so weird. So when you go down 17-0, I like your odds of coming back against a Detroit Lions or a Jacksonville Jaguars over, a division rival like the Dallas Cowboys, or if you had to play Green Bay this week. But I totally get it. And only a 4-point favorite is, on the road too. It's not going to be a pushover. And that wasn't even really my point of this. It was more to just say, like, the Eagles have had their fair share of low points, justified times where fans should be disappointed, but it is very different, the bar in Philly versus this other fan base in Detroit that is just dying for any sort of consistency. I mean, even when they had their greatest quarterback ever in Matt Stafford for 11 years, they made the playoffs twice and lost in the wild card both times. And then they had to watch this guy, the very first season with another team, become a Super Bowl MVP. I don't know how Lions fans still exist, man. I couldn't do it, to be honest. Does that make me a fair weather fan? I don't know. 62 years with 2 playoff wins. Gino, you're a soccer guy. I mean, I'm not saying that relegation should happen in the NFL, but when does it come time to earn your spot in the league?
We have made this joke, and myself personally, like, should the Detroit Lions, when they were 0-16, take on Alabama? Like, that would be an awesome game to see. And you just got to feel for Detroit Lions fans at this point. And that's what their city is, man. The Tigers, they're not doing so hot right now. The Red Wings are in a rebuilding stage. The Lions are everything for them right now. That's their hope. And Dan Campbell, I mean, who could you ask for in a coaching staff that just is a football guy, puts all the BS to the side, has played for Detroit, knows what it's like to play in that city, and you see the emotion in his face each and every week. I would love to play for that guy. And I think that this should be a good test for the Eagles right out of the gate, because you know you're going to get a team that is going to come out quick. They want to start with effort. They want to start with intensity. And sometimes that can beat a good football team. If you're playing snap to whistle each and every play, that can wear down a team when you get into the third and fourth quarter. So like you said, these week 1 matchups are weird. The Detroit Lions, they want to change nearly 5-6 decades of the narrative around them. That's not a team that you want to take lightly.
And what was the quote they said, Gino? They're going to tread water until I forget what it was in Hard Knocks, but it was basically about Dan Campbell saying they're going to come at you for 4 quarters, week after week. And of course, every coach says that, but with the Lions, you really do believe that. And that's a kind of team that, you can't nap for a quarter. You can't have the slow starts that the Eagles have had in the past. You got to come out the way you did last year, week 1, against the Atlanta Falcons. The good thing, though, is the Eagles, this team, their mentality, I trust this team more to not get caught up in that kind of stuff, not overlook an opponent, especially with it being week 1. But yeah, Gino, you're right. It's going to be a good test for sure. And we're going to get into the matchups coming up next. There's some interesting ones to look at on both sides of the ball. What are the keys for the Eagles offense and the Eagles defense? That's coming up next right here on Locked On Eagles. And guys, today's show is sponsored by Prize Picks Daily Fantasy. I love how easy it is to play daily fantasy with Prize Picks. I love traditional fantasy, but daily is kind of all the rage nowadays. We're going to win big this regular season with Prize Picks. How does it work? Well, you pick 2 to 5 players, and if they're going to go score more or less than their Prize Picks projection, I'm going to maybe put some money down on some of these Eagles offensive players. I like the mismatches. You can win up to 10 times your money on any entry, no competing with anybody, just you versus the projection. Prize Picks offers projections on any sport you watch as well. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. They have safe and fast withdrawals as well. Download the PrizePicks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code LOCKEDON. Again, if you deposit $100, PrizePicks will give you $100 back with the promo code LOCKEDON. All right, Eagles fans, welcome back into this Tuesday edition of your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast, Locked On Eagles. And Gino, we are taking a deeper look into the Birds' first matchup, week 1, Sunday at 1 o'clock against the Detroit Lions. And I think overall, we talked about it in segment 1, this Lions team is going to come after you for 4 quarters. The effort's going to be there. We love their coaching staff, Dan Campbell, Deuce Staley. They got Mark Brunell as their quarterbacks coach, I believe. Kelvin Shepard, a former linebacker in the NFL, has been doing some good work with linebackers across the league. And, so overall, they're building something there. But when it comes to the personnel, though, the excuses for the Eagles are going to be very limited. I feel like I was looking through, what are the key matchups? On both sides of the ball, they're way more talented, simply put.
And news came out yesterday that they will be without Halapoulivaati Vaitai on the offensive line, which Eagles fans know he wasn't arguably the best offensive lineman ever, but he fits into that mold. We're talking about tough, versatile, somebody that will play against
He's been playing
any
guard
level
for
of
them.
competition. Yeah. And without him being there, now you have to rely on a backup player at guard. You're going to have the young Penei Sewell at the left tackle position he's going to be in for a test that day, and then it's going to come down to their quarterback position. And the Eagles have had success against Jared Goff time over time throughout his tenure in the National Football League. And like you said, Lou, looking at 22 positions on the field, going down the list, checking them off, there are a few where you're saying, okay, Detroit has the upper hand here.
Yeah.
And there might not really be any.
I don't know. I was thinking, Aiden Hutchinson, is he better than... I don't know. I mean, that's a projection.
Yeah,
he's the second overall pick, but would you put him ahead of Hassan Reddick or Josh Sweat right now? Or even Brandon Graham? We don't know. He's a rookie that hasn't played a game yet. For sure. I like that you started things off, though, with the interior line battle here between the Lions' offensive line, of course, and Philadelphia's defensive line, because Jared Goff is not a mobile quarterback. We know that. And why did they have the success against Goff, as you mentioned in the past? Well, let's look at that 2018 game down the stretch that turned around the season, sparked that playoff run. Fletcher Cox was on a tear down the stretch. And when you get pressure inside on a non-mobile quarterback and force him to get outside the numbers, I think that's key. And Big V has been playing guard for them. They signed him to that big contract a few years ago to play tackle, but with Penei Sewell, with Taylor Decker, he moved inside. He is not going to play. He was moved to the IR, as you said. It's time for Fletcher Cox to eat. Let's see the finish of the 2021 version of Fletch. Javon Hargrave, too. Let's see how he looks. He missed a lot of the summer. They were being cautious with his injury. And I want to see how improved Jordan Davis looks as a pass rusher. I think that's a huge key to this game.
I think Jordan Davis will be an integral part to week one, because you talk about the idea of let's get this interior pressure, right? Well, if you've looked how teams have game planned in the preseason against Jordan Davis, they're putting 2, even sometimes 3 players on them. So now you're leaving everybody else, which we have talked about time and time again, in a one-on-one matchup. I love the idea of Fletcher Cox or Javon Hargrave going up against a backup guard that will not be Big B, allow them to game plan Jordan Davis out there and force multiply everybody else. Because if Jared Goff wants to escape to the edge, try to escape with the lack of legs that he has, well, best of luck, because Hassan Reddick is going to be coming off the edge. You're going to have Josh Sweat coming off the edge. If they can lock up that interior pressure, maybe even not get to the quarterback on the interior loop, but push that pocket enough to make Jared Goff step outside rather than stepping up, where when he steps up, he can see down the field. We've seen that. He played in Sean McVay's offense. He was tasked to make quick decisions. Now in this Lions offense, he has guys like Hockenson. He could throw it to Amon-Ra St. Brown. He has more trust than he will have last year. But at the same time, the player that you've seen in all of those games is exactly what you're going to get again. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Game plan the same exact way on the interior of the defensive line that you have over the past couple of years. And it just happens to be that this is the best unit that you have had. Best of luck to that interior, Detroit, man. That's going to be a tough sled right out of the gate.
Yeah. And I think another key with this same, philosophy here of making Jared Goff uncomfortable up the middle is to not make things easy for him to get the ball out quick, right? Like you said, push the pocket even if you can't get to him, but don't give him easy yards where he can get the ball out quick. Make him hold on to it for another half a second, because that might be all it takes for one of these guys to get there. And when you look at who the Lions' best weapons are and who the guys that Goff loves to throw to, it's 2 players on the inside. It's Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's going to play mostly in the slot, and it's TJ Hockenson. Those are Goff's top 2 targets that I'm concerned with more than DJ Chark. We also know Jameson Williams not going to play, their first-round receiver out of Alabama. Last year, the Eagles gave up more receptions and yards against tight ends than anybody in the NFL, and it's because they gave up a lot of space over the middle. They were trying to not get beat deep, and they just didn't have the personnel to make up for that ground. This year, Kyzir White is in-house at linebacker. You've got CGJ now, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, moving around on the interior. You've got Avonte Maddox playing probably a lot against Amon-Ra. They don't move corners. Slay's going to be on a side. Bradbury's going to be on a side. Maddox is going to be inside. I think not letting Goff have those easy yards in the middle is going to really prevent, the offensive line from being able to hold on. I think that's another key to watch.
And you look at the personnel that they have now, and you look at what Detroit has, and I believe it matches up very well, because you talk about the new addition of Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Well, what does he excel at in terms of coverage? Taking on big-bodied tight ends, big-bodied slot receivers. Yeah. Well, TJ Hockenson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, they fit that mold to a T.
Kyzir White's had an incredible summer in coverage, by the way, too.
They're going to make Jared Goff think a lot. The looks that they're going to present, You talk about the rush that you're going to want from the inside. Well, what's going to happen when they mug 2 linebackers up the middle as well? Let's say you even bring Hassan Riddick inside to the A-gap, bring down Kyzir White. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is an overhang type of player.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to be up, I feel, Lou. Like, you're going to be pressing your interior defensive line.
Yeah, you should be scared of this offense. No, don't give them anything.
You should want to impose your will.
You should do what they did down the stretch last year against all those bad quarterbacks. Not to say Jared Goff is Jake Fromm or, Zach Wilson, but Gino, this shouldn't be what they did the first half of the year when they played a Derek Carr, a Mahomes, a Brady, and they're just calling off the dogs. Like you said, they should throw the kitchen sink at them and dare them to beat them.
And that should be the tone that you want to set for the rest of the season, because Jonathan Gannon, our biggest question and the thing we were trying to resolve last year was, why are we doing and putting players in a position that isn't of benefit to them? Playing Darius Slay in zone and off looks, it is not where he excels. Let him get up there. Let him play DJ Chark at the line. And then the rest of the season, that's the tone that we're going to set. We're going to be a team that is in your face. If you want to throw those quick hitters, well, we got guys on an island that can tackle. All of our exterior players are good tacklers. Bradbury might be an even better tackler than Darius Slay, who, man, you get him outside, he's going to take you down. And then you add Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who this guy loves contact. He loves being the center of attention. He loves these one-on-one matchups. These are all guys that strive and love competition. And that's where it's going to come to a head Sunday is, okay, we know we're playing a Detroit Lions team that might not have the firepower that we have, but we're not going to do what we have done in the past and allow quarterbacks to just get these quick hitters, allow them to finish with a 75 or greater completion percentage, which was an issue for the Eagles defense last year.
Well, Gino, what's there to be scared of getting beat deep? Jameson Williams isn't playing. If he was on the field, you'd want to account for that more. But Amon-Ra's a good player, but like we said, he's a possession receiver over the middle. A very good one, by the way. Last year, he had 90 catches without a drop, which was 22 more than the second best. So this is a good player. But and DJ Chark, I think, is a good player that we actually wanted for the Eagles for a couple years there as a nice compliment. But there's not world beaters on this offense that you should be scared of anyway.
No, you definitely have to account for DeAndre Swift out of the backfield. I think that will be a good test to see how the linebackers can flow out to the line of scrimmage, how they can read and identify things out of the backfield. We know Deuce Staley is going to ask his running backs to be very precise how they run. They're not going to be doing things that are out of character. But can you just be sound? Can you fill your gaps? Can you overpower guys at the line of scrimmage? Can you shut down guys in one-on-one matchups? That's what I want to see right away. I want to see all of the things that we believe were going to happen this offseason with the new acquisitions and put them into play. If Jonathan Gannon goes out there and does a lot of the same that he did last year, calling off the dogs, allowing them to, quote, bend, not break, but giving up 80% completion percentage to Jared Goff, where he goes and throws for 300 yards and everything's underneath, I'm still going to have question marks going into week 2. But if you do what you did down the stretch, where you impose your will against talent that might not be up to your caliber, never play down to your competition, that's exactly what I want to see week 1. Go out there and play Philadelphia Eagle football that is going to set your tone to compete around the rest of the landscape of the league. It's not a 1-week season. It's not a 2-week season. This thing can go 20 weeks. Set a good tone, start hot, and carry that over week.
And I think the same can be said for the Eagles offense. So, Gino, coming up next, we're going to get into the key matchups for Jalen Hurts and that Eagles offense. We'll be right back right here on Locked On Eagles.
The only thing sweeter than knowing that A.J. Brown, DeVonta Smith, and the rest of that Eagles offense are going to have some fun this Sunday is knowing that you can do it with a delicious Built Bar in hand while you're watching the game. Folks, they're back for another season sponsoring the Locked On Eagles podcast and all of the Locked On Podcast Network. If you haven't tried any Built Bars yet, you are missing out. Their latest is their Puffs. The cookie dough chunk puff is by far the best protein bar on the market. And when I say protein bar, this thing tastes like a piece of candy because they focus on covering it with 100% real chocolate. They want you to get the taste, and then they'll give you the nutrition as well. These things have up to 17 grams of protein, no more than 160 calories, no more than 7 grams of carbs and sugar. If you want to have something sweet without all the guilt, grab a Built Bar. You can grab their variety packs where you can get multiple of each flavor, or try your favorites. I love mint chocolate. I love the cookie dough chunk puffs. They even have the granola variety. And if you want to get in on Built Bar today, go to Built.com and use the promo code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, 15, that's locked on 15 for 15% off of your order at Built.com. Make sure to check out those cookie dough puffs. They will get you through the day. They're the most delicious thing out there, and I'll be having one when I enjoy the Eagles beating the Detroit Lions come this Sunday.
All right, Eagles fans, we're wrapping up this Tuesday edition of Locked On Eagles. We thank you so much for making LOE your first listen each and every day. Gino, diving into the matchups, went really deep in on the Eagles defense against Jared Goff and the Lions offense. When it comes to the Eagles offense with Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, they're making their debut together, a new look team, a much improved team overall on both sides of the ball. I think it's, not simple, but with the Eagles offense, I want to see what they did against Atlanta last year, where you said in segment 2, don't play down to your competition. And I think the same can be said for the Eagles offense. I think passing the football is what they want to do this year, as we talked about yesterday. And I want to see them throw all over Detroit. I think the Lions are severely outmatched when it comes to trying to defend A.J. Brown, DeVonta Smith, Dallas Goedert. Quez Watkins. They don't have the dogs for that kind of fight. I mean, Jeffrey Okudah earned a starting job and, had a lot of upside as a top 5 pick coming out of Ohio State a few years ago. But the Lions personnel, there's only so much you can do with a scheme. There's ways to defend Jalen Hurts like last year, and I'm curious to see how the Lions go about this. But overall, the personnel out there are just going to probably out-execute you. It's going to be tough. A.J. Brown, DeVonta Smith, and Dallas Goedert are going to make it tough to neutralize Hurts completely in this passing game.
Looking at what happened in that game last year, it was a lot of run, and then they just ran out the clock toward the end. I would like to look at this and say, let's get up in the passing game. Mm-hmm. Let's put up a few scores. Let's see our horses outrun their horses. And then see if our running game continues to work year over year.
Pass to get the lead, run to keep it.
Yep, exactly. But don't forget about the run. That's going to be integral in opening up the field for everybody else, because the way the Eagles can utilize play action, the way they can utilize Jalen Hurts getting outside the pocket, making those defenses think for a split second is going to be key. You want to show them that you're willing to play 11-on-11 football and not handcuff yourself into the run, handcuff yourself into the pass. You want to show that you're versatile. That's what we want to see. Multiplicity on offense. Don't just go out there and hit A.J. Brown 6 times in a row. Spread that thing around. Let everybody eat in week 1. That's the tone I want to set. Let's go out there. Let's pick up where we left off in that first preseason game where Jalen Hurts goes a perfect 6 for 6.
Yep.
Let's redeem that Tampa Bay game, but take some of those qualities that started down the stretch after that Detroit Lions game, where you can impose your will on the offensive line. You can impose your will on the defensive line. Your offensive playmakers can go out there and eat. You started to trust DeVonta Smith down the stretch. Quez Watkins can get more involved this go-around. Dallas Goedert, the sky's the limit for him. Let's allow these guys to win those matchups, because we were talking about our defensive players winning those one-on-ones. Man, A.J. Brown, DeVonta Smith, they're all going to get chances to go against Jeff Okudah, but the rest of the time, is Alex Anzalone their best cover linebacker right now?
Yeah.
And safety, man, this is going to be tough sledding for Detroit's defense right out of the gate for an Eagles team that Nick Sirianni is chomping at the bit to just let that thing fly. He wants to show what this Eagles offense is capable of and what all of these pieces were added for.
And I can't imagine Detroit, does a lot of blitzing, right? Because, maybe that forces Jalen Hurts into quicker decisions, which is what Tampa Bay did in the playoffs. They didn't blitz, but they brought a 4-man pass rush with a lot of disguises where it was coming from to get Hurts thinking a lot. But if you actually do send the dogs with Jalen, his mobility can neutralize that. And if he gets outside the numbers, if he escapes that blitz, it already is tough enough to defend Brown, Smith, and Goddard. But now if there are fewer numbers down the field, and if Jalen Hurts looks as improved and using his legs to open up the pass like he did in the preseason and this summer compared to last year, at least the first half of the season, I thought he got better at that down the stretch, then that's going to be tough. I think with Detroit, they're probably going to try similar to what Tampa Bay did, but again, it just gets very hard to completely neutralize his passing attack with the weapons that, Hurts does have. I know with the Giants last year too, they tried a lot of being very aggressive on first and second down, forcing the Eagles into these third and long situations that make obvious passing situations put on Hurts' shoulders. But it's just overall going to be, with the Lions, I think there's little excuses for the Eagles to not have, yes, don't abandon the run, but to not throw all over this team.
And you should absolutely want to, because you want to see Jalen Hurts show that he has improved year over year, show that his pocket presence has gotten better. If he still is doing the same things where we're looking and it's clean pocket and he escapes the pocket, then we'll see. Maybe he did evolve year over year in week 1. But what we saw in that little glimpse, 6 passes, 6 for 6, I saw a lot of good there. Let's continue to build on that good of Jalen Hurts. Because like you said, Lou, if they want to send pressure, Jalen Hurts, go carry the ball, my friend. Like if they're going to blitz you, follow your blockers and go. And then open up the rest of the field. Because when you look at quarterbacks, look at Josh Allen, for example, right, Lou? Once he gets running, that's when he becomes even more dangerous. You want to see him protect himself, of course. But when that becomes 11 on 11 and it no longer becomes 11 on 10, where Detroit, they're going to be playing 11 on 10 offense the entire season. Jared Goff is no threat to run the ball. But the modern quarterback, the modern NFL, these guys are going to be asked to do a lot of different things. Yes, it starts with passing, but you also can't hamstring your offense by taking 5 to 6 yard sacks because you can't escape. Picking up those 2 to 3 yard gains that Jalen can do is exactly what you want from your offense. Move the chain. There are 4 downs to get a first down. If you get 3 to 4 yards a clip on the ground, that's going to get you a first down more often than not. And then they're going to have to say, oh, we can't forget about all these playmakers out here either. And now you're focusing on our quarterback as well as his offensive line, which they are going to impose their will more than anybody. You don't think that Jordan Mailata and Lane Johnson want to set a tone against Aiden Hutchinson to say, hey, welcome to the NFL, my friend.
Absolutely.
This ain't college anymore.
Yeah. I just want to see, I want to feel, and I know it's going to be the Lions, so we're going to take it with a grain of salt if it does happen, like last year against Atlanta to start the year. But I just want to notice, plays with Hurts and the offense overall where you're like, oh, they couldn't do that last year. Oh, Hurts last year, that's how a defense stopped him. And this year, he figured that out. That's going to be something that will be exciting to see if he can pull that off. Starting week 1, it's a whole, 17-game process for sure, but this is the big one to start. And it's a favorable matchup, so you want to get off on the right foot and start the season off 1-0. Gino will continue to get into this matchup Wednesday through Friday. Make sure you subscribe to Locked On Eagles. Monday through Friday, we got a show for you on all podcast platforms and on YouTube as well. Hit us up on Twitter at LockdownBirds, at GC24_football, and at DiBiase-LOE. And we thank you so much for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. Make sure your second listen is the Ultimate Pro Football Preview 2022. It's an 8-episode extravaganza to get you ready for the NFL season. The local team experts of the Locked On Podcast Network, including myself, plus a betting angle from Lee Sterling of Locked On Bets, all combining into one ultimate NFL preview. Search for Ultimate Pro Football Preview 2022 on your Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your shows. As always, thank you so much for downloading LOE. Thank you for watching and listening, and let's go Birds.